Hi, this is Carl with another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I want to talk about automating ticket triage. And in particular, I want to talk about how you can approach it by taking the biggest pieces first. Do you ever play the game 20 questions? You know, the one that starts out with, okay, I'm thinking of something, and you have to guess what it is. You have no more than 20 questions before you have to guess. The first question is always animal, vegetable, or mineral. And the reason is that divides things into really big categories. If I say it's an animal, well, you know it's not the sun, you know it's not a car, right? It eliminates so much of the universe. Okay, now we got animals, okay. And then I can ask, is it a human or not a human? All right, again, another huge divider. One of the most common questions is always, is it bigger than a bread box? Which is silly because nobody has bread boxes anymore, but you do have a microwave. So if you say, well, is it bigger than a microwave? Well, that also eliminates a lot of things in the animal world or whatever, and it gives you something that focuses very quickly. Triaging tickets is very much the same way. What are the big questions that you can ask that put everything into immediately smaller, significant categories? Part of this depends on all of the prep work that goes into it. I recently had somebody ask a question about this topic from my online community at smallbizthoughts.org. And here's basically my response. You start with a contract. The base has got to be a base that says, here's our contract, managed services, and it defines managed services very clearly. Managed services covers the maintenance of the operating system and software. Once you have that in place, well, lots of things get easier. So with that base, you can take it apart word by word by word. Is it hardware? Yes or no? Okay, well, if it's hardware, it's not covered. And you're going to put in hours. Your contract is going to say, this is during normal business hours. Okay, well, is it maintenance of the operating system and software? Okay, yes. All right, so then it is covered by default if you're on managed services. Great. And then, is it normal business hours? Okay. Yes, it is. Okay, still covered. Okay, so once you've got that base in place, then inside of your PSA, you create default contracts and assign them to clients. So if a client is on managed services and they put in a ticket, by default, you can have an automated process that says the ticket is covered. Now, a human needs to look at it, and if they say, oh, no, this is a hardware thing, I'm going to move them to another ticket. Every client on managed services, they may only sign one contract. That's fine. But inside your PSA, you need two contracts in the system. One is for managed services, and it's the default contract. So every time they enter a ticket, by default, it's on the managed service contract. The other contract is a time and materials contract, okay? So if you think about it, once you've got a time and materials contract in your PSA, then anything that's not covered by managed services needs to be manually moved over to the time and materials contract. Remember, those contracts exist only in your PSA. You've signed one in the real world, but you've got two contracts inside your PSA. Now, if somebody is on break fix, if you have clients who are not all on managed services, then they're only going to have a time and materials contract, and therefore everything is billable by default. Now, you can still have ticket entries that are not billable on a time and materials contract. For whatever reason, it's rework or something. And even on a managed service contract, you can have time entries. Let's say that you've got a work that goes after 6:00 p.m. Okay, well, that time entry has to be billable even though the rest of the ticket is non-billable. So when you look at it, there's kind of this flow. A ticket comes in and you just check out what is the default. and with luck, you've got a good PSA that will automatically assign the right contract. And so 90% of the time, if something is covered by managed services, it'll be on the managed service contract. If it is add, move, change, if it is hardware, well, then it gets moved to the time and materials contract. And again, from there you have the tickets and the specific time entry. So I've got a few different graphics going on here. Let me show you one more that kind of summarizes the whole thing. The idea here is basically you've got business hours, you've got hardware and software, you've got add, move, change, right? You've got all the variables, and most of this is completely automated. Now, a human being, your service manager or service coordinator, still needs to look at it and make sure it's on the right contract. But for the most part, again, if you've got the default contracts in place, then you're good to go. Now, other people look and say, well, why don't I use the employee role, the technician role, and then what kind of work this is, right? The work type and subtype. Well, the problem is you could have 50 work types and each of them can have 25 or 50 subtypes. And so the number of options just explodes. And now you've got to manage hundreds of variations, and even if you're really diligent and you only have 10 or 12 types and each of them has 10 or 12 subtypes, all right, you got 100 to 150 different options. And then if you add the work roles of your technicians, you got 3 or 4 more options. Okay, so you're still up to 500 options, right? Don't make your life that complicated. Your life is much easier if you can have big dividers. Is this covered by managed services? Yes or no? Done. Now you don't have to worry about the billability. Everything on that contract, unless there's an exception, is covered, right? If it's not covered, well, then by all means, it is all billable. So make your life as easy as possible. You can still automate it, but make the automation as simple as possible so that you take care of the biggest decisions, the biggest bulk of the division right at the start. And that way, instead of having to deal with looking at, let's say 100 tickets with 500 options that all have to be correct, now you've got 100 tickets and almost immediately you have divided out 90% of them because of the contract status. And so now you only have to look at 10 out of 100 and determine whether it's really billable, really covered by managed services, and so forth. Remember, it goes all the way back to the contract. The base of your support has got to be that you've got a good contract that has a clear definition of managed services. Again, for me, has been and always will be, the definition of managed services is that it covers the maintenance of the operating system and software. If it's not maintenance and it's not the operating system and software, it is not covered by managed services. Of course, you need to fine tune for your system, but if you need help, you give me a call, or well, don't give me a call, I'm not going to answer. Send me an email and I'll be happy to help you if I can. We can set up a Zoom call if that is necessary. I would love to have your feedback and your comments. Leave them down below. Remember, like it if you like it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. And I'll see you next time. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Polachuk, wishing you the best of luck in everything you do.